By the time Elena's body hit the metal awning, her husband was already stepping back from the balcony like he had only dropped a glass, not his 7 months pregnant wife. The first impact bent the frame with a scream of steel. The second threw her across the hood of a parked SUV hard enough to knock the air out of her chest. She did not feel brave. She did not feel angry. She felt one thing, terror. Because for 3 long seconds, lying there in the snow and blood and shattered pain, she could not feel her baby move. And somewhere above her, behind the dark railing, her husband was still watching. Welcome to today's story. If you enjoy emotional drama and shocking twists, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more unforgettable stories. And before we begin, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. 3 weeks earlier, everything still looked almost normal. Elena Brooks lived on the 3rd floor of an older apartment building in North Jersey, the kind with narrow balconies, thin walls, and a parking lot that flooded every spring. It was not glamorous, but when she first moved in after marrying Caleb, she told herself that normal was enough. Normal felt safe. Normal felt grown up. She had stopped chasing the polished life she used to imagine for herself and started measuring happiness in smaller things. A quiet dinner, a baby on the way, a husband who came home at night. But by the time winter arrived, the apartment no longer felt like a home. It felt like a place where she had to be careful. Elena was 32, 7 months pregnant. Her lower back hurt all the time. Her ankles swelled by evening. Sometimes the baby kicked so hard it made her laugh. Other times it made her cry because it was the only thing in her life that still felt honest. Caleb had not always been cold. When they first met, he had been charming in that easy, ordinary way that made a woman lower her guard. He remembered small details. He opened doors. He made her feel chosen. That mattered more than it should have, especially after the relationship she had walked away from before him. A man with too much money, too much confidence, too much certainty. Caleb had felt simpler, safer, like a life she could actually fit inside. Now she understood something painful. Simple was not the same as kind. Quiet was not the same as safe. By December, Caleb controlled every dollar that came into the apartment. Elena used a card tied to their joint account, but he got alerts for everything. Groceries, pharmacy runs, the $26 she spent on maternity leggings. If she bought something he thought was unnecessary, he did not shout right away. He would wait. Then he would bring it up later with that tight little smile that made her stomach knot. "Do you really need another cream?" he had asked one night, holding up a bottle of Stretch Mark lotion like it was evidence. She had stared at him from the couch, one hand on her belly, too tired to fight. "It was $12, Caleb. 12 here, 20 there. That's how people drown. People, not we. That was how he did it." He talked like they were on the same side, while slowly making sure she had no side of her own. Then there was Diane. Caleb's mother never raised her voice in the beginning. She did not need to. She had the kind of face that could make a compliment feel like an insult. Diane wore expensive perfume, low heels, and a look of permanent disappointment. Too often, always with advice, always with opinions. Elena should eat less salt. Sit straighter. Stop being so emotional. Be grateful. Caleb worked as hard as he did. The baby, Diane said once over tea, had not come at a good time. Elena had blinked. "I didn't know babies were supposed to check a calendar." Diane smiled over the rim of her cup. A woman who understands timing usually understands other things too. It stayed with Elena for days. That was what made the whole thing so exhausting. Caleb bruised her dignity in private. Diane polished the damage in public. Together they made Elena feel unreasonable for noticing either one. Still, she told herself Caleb was stressed. The housing market had turned. His commissions had dropped. He was behind on something, though he never explained what. He had started taking calls on the balcony in the cold. He slept with his phone face down. He snapped when she asked simple questions, then apologized, then brought home takeout and acted wounded, as if her hurt had injured him. It was not love anymore. It was management. One Tuesday afternoon, while Caleb was in the shower, Elena opened the banking app to check whether the electric bill had gone through. She froze before the screen even fully loaded. A transfer had cleared 2 days earlier. $9,000, gone from their joint account. Her breath caught. Her thumb moved fast, opening the transaction history, then the credit card summary, then the savings tab. She stared at the numbers, at the red balances, at charges she did not recognize, and for the first time in months, her fears sharpened into something cleaner, something colder. When she heard the bathroom door open, she locked the phone and set it down. Caleb walked into the room, toweling off his hair. "You okay?" Elena looked up at him. Really looked. And for the first time, she didn't just see a difficult husband. She saw a man hiding something big enough to destroy all three of them. That night, after Caleb fell asleep, Elena lay awake in the dark with one hand over her stomach and the other gripping her phone under the blanket. Then she opened the account again, and what she found beneath that transfer made her blood run cold. Elena stared at the screen until the numbers stopped making sense. $9,000 gone. 3 credit cards nearly maxed out. One she barely remembered opening. Her name on all of them. Her social, her signature, her chest tightened. This wasn't just stress spending. This was something else. She scrolled slower now, careful, quiet. The kind of quiet that comes when your body knows before your mind does that something is wrong. Then she saw it. A document tab. Recently downloaded, she tapped it. It took a second to load. Just enough time for her to hear Caleb moving in the bedroom behind her. A drawer opening. The low hum of the TV turning on. The file opened, life insurance policy. For name at the legal name, date of birth, address. She sat very still. The policy amount sat in bold near the center of the page. $750,000. Her throat went dry, forced herself to. Line by line. Primary beneficiary, Caleb Brooks, her husband. She felt something shift inside her. Not panic. Not yet. Something colder. The effective date hit her next, 6 weeks ago. Right after she told him she was pregnant, her hand moved slowly to her stomach. The baby shifted under her palm. A small kick. She swallowed hard. Accidental death coverage, increased payout. She stopped there. Her eyes flicked back to the amount, then to the date, then to the beneficiary again. Caleb. Footsteps moved closer behind her. Elena? She locked the phone instantly and set it face down on the couch beside her. He walked into the living room like nothing was wrong, like everything was fine, hair still damp, clean shirt, that same easy face he used when he wanted things to stay smooth. You okay? He asked. Just tired. He watched her for a second, longer than usual, then he smiled. Small, controlled, you should rest more. Doctor said stress isn't good for the baby. Not us, the baby. Like it was a problem they were both managing. Elena forced a small smile back. I know. He stepped closer, sat beside her, his hand rested on her knee, light pressure, casual, but she felt it differently now. Ownership. You've been a little off lately, he said. Emotional. The word landed like a label. She looked at him, really looked this time, the calm voice, the soft tone. The way he framed concern like a diagnosis. How so? She asked. He shrugged. Just sensitive. My mom noticed it too. Of course she did. Diane always noticed, always labeled, always filed things away. Elena's fingers curled slightly against her leg. I'm pregnant, Caleb, she said. That's normal. He same tight smile. Yeah, exactly. Exactly what? She didn't ask, because suddenly, asking felt dangerous. A silence settled between them. Thick, heavy. He stood after a moment, grabbed his phone from the counter, checked something quickly, turned the screen away from her without thinking. Or maybe thinking too much. I've got a call, he said. Work stuff. At 9 at night. She nodded. He walked toward the balcony, opened the sliding door, cold air rushed in. Then he stepped outside and closed it behind him. Elena sat there, frozen. Her eyes slowly drifted to his phone charger on the counter, empty. He took it with him. Always. Her gaze moved back to her own phone, face down, silent. She picked it up again, her fingers shaking now, unlocked it. Opened the policy again, scrolled further down this time. And that's when she saw the clause she hadn't noticed before. A handwritten amendment, signed, not by her, but forged to look like it. Her breath caught. Because according to that document, she had agreed to it. And suddenly, for the first time, Elena realized something she couldn't unsee anymore. This wasn't just about money. This was preparation. Elena didn't sleep that night. She lay on her side, facing the wall, eyes open in the dark. Caleb's breathing behind her was slow, even, peaceful, like nothing was wrong, like he hadn't just signed something that could end her life. Her hand stayed on her stomach. The baby moved once, soft, reassuring. She held on to that. Because everything else felt like it was slipping. By morning, she had made one decision. She would not confront him. Not yet. People always said that when something felt wrong, you should speak up. Be honest. Communicate. But something about that document, the forged signature, the timing, it told her this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was planning. And you don't confront someone who's planning against you. You watch them, you learn, you stay quiet. That morning, Caleb acted normal. Coffee news playing in the background. A quick kiss on her cheek before leaving for work. The same routine he had followed for months. But now, Elena saw the gaps. He didn't ask how she slept. He didn't touch her stomach. He didn't look at her the way someone looks at a person they're building a future with. He looked at her like she was already something else, something temporary. As soon as the door closed behind him, Elena moved. She grabbed her phone, opened the banking app again. Every transfer, every charge, every account. Then the insurance policy. She scrolled slower now, reading carefully. There were payment records, premiums paid monthly, from their joint account. Not his, not separate, theirs. Her chest tightened. She was paying for this. Paying for the thing that could make him rich if she died. She took screenshots of everything, saved them to a hidden folder, then emailed them to herself using a new account she created right there, sitting on the couch. Her hands trembled, but she didn't stop. This was the first thing she had done in months that felt like control. Around noon, her phone buzzed. Diane. Elena stared at the name for a second before answering. Hi, Diane. A pause. Then that familiar voice, calm, polished. Elena. I was thinking about dinner this weekend. Christmas is coming. We should finalize plans, of course. Elena forced her voice steady. Sure. What did you have in mind? I think it would be best if we host. Caleb has enough stress right now. Best. Always what's best. Diane continued, and Elena tried to keep things calm this time. You've been a little emotional lately. There it was again. Elena closed her eyes briefly, counted to 3. I'm pregnant, she said quietly. That's not unusual. Another pause. Yes, Diane replied, softer now. But not every woman handles it well. The words landed clean. Not every woman, not you. Elena opened her eyes. Something in her chest shifted. Not fear, not yet. Something sharper. I'll be fine, she said. We'll see, Diane answered. The call ended. Elena sat there in silence, phone still in her hand. Then she stood up slowly and walked to the bedroom. Opened Caleb's closet. His shirts hung in perfect rows. His shoes lined up below. Everything controlled, organized. She moved past them, to the back, to the locked drawer. She had noticed it months ago, asked about it once. Work stuff, he had said. Confidential? She hadn't questioned it then. Now she did. She crouched slowly, her body heavier with the pregnancy, her breathing careful. Her fingers brushed the handle. Locked, of course. She sat back on her heels, staring at it. Then she looked around the room. And for the first time, it didn't feel like a shared space. It felt like a place where things were hidden from her. Important things. Dangerous things. Her eyes drifted to Caleb's nightstand, then to the small metal tray where he dropped his keys every night. And suddenly, a thought settled in her mind. Quiet. If he was hiding this much, what else hadn't she seen yet? And how far had he already gone? By Friday night, Elena already knew dinner at Diane's house wouldn't just be dinner. It never was. Diane's place sat in a quiet upper middle-class neighborhood. The kind with trimmed lawns and soft lighting that made everything look calm from the outside. Inside was different, controlled, polished. Every chair placed exactly where it should be, every word measured. Elena felt it when she stepped in. Diane kissed her cheek lightly, already assessing. You look tired, I didn't sleep well. Diane's eyes flicked briefly to her stomach. You should be more careful. Stress isn't good at this stage. There it was again. Not concern. Correction. Caleb walked in behind her, one hand lightly on her back, guiding her forward like she might drift out of place. To anyone watching, it looked caring. To Elena, it felt like positioning. Dinner started normally enough. Roast chicken, green beans, wine poured for everyone but her. Diane spoke about neighbors, about church, about things that sounded harmless but never really were. Then it shifted. It always did. Elena, Diane said casually, cutting into her food. Have you thought more about after the baby comes? Elena looked up. Well, Diane continued, raising a child is demanding, especially for someone who hasn't been working. It can be overwhelming. The word hung in the air. Caleb didn't look at her. Elena felt her chest tighten. I'll manage. Diane smiled faintly. Not succeed. Elena's fork paused midair. I'm not worried about managing, she said, quieter now, but steady. I'm worried about having support. Diane leaned back slightly. Studied her, is her Elena, beat, especially for a child. There it was, not said outright, but clear enough. Elena glanced at Caleb. He still didn't look at her. Caleb, she said. He sighed softly, like she had asked something inconvenient. Mom's just saying we should be realistic. Realistic. About what? About her? About whether she was fit to be a mother? The humiliation hit slow, not loud, quiet, controlled, worse. Lena set her fork down carefully. I am realistic, she said. I'm the one carrying this baby. Diane's smile didn't change. And that's exactly why we're concerned. We. Elena felt something crack inside her. Not loudly, not all at once. But enough. The rest of dinner blurred. Words passed, small comments. Little looks between Caleb and Diane that she noticed clearly, always coordinated, always aligned. By the time dessert came, Elena excused herself. I need some air. She stepped outside onto the back patio. Cold air hit her face, sharp, real. For a moment she just stood there, breathing, trying to slow her heart. The sliding door opened behind her. Caleb stepped out, closed it halfway. You didn't have to make that awkward, he said. She turned to him. Awkward? You know how my mom is. That doesn't make it okay. He shrugged. She's worried. She thinks I'm unstable. She didn't say that. She didn't have to. A silence. Then Caleb looked at her, really looked this time, and for a second, something slipped. Annoyance. Cold, flat. You've been acting off. Elena, defensive. The words hit like a label again. She stepped back slightly. I'm pregnant, Caleb. And that explains everything? He snapped, just a little. There it was. Not loud, but real. Elena felt it in her chest. You don't get to use that every time something's wrong, he added. Something's wrong. You think something's wrong with me? She asked. He didn't answer right away. That was the answer. The wind picked up slightly. The patio light flickered. From inside, Diane's silhouette moved near the window. Watching. Elena wrapped her arms around herself. Not from the cold, from something else, something darker. Because in that moment, standing on that patio, looking at her husband and knowing his mother was right behind him, she realized something she hadn't let herself fully accept before. They weren't just criticizing her. They were building something, a story, about her. And if they were already telling that story out loud, then it meant one thing. They were getting ready to use it. The next morning, Elena woke up with a strange kind of clarity, not calm, not peace, just clarity. The kind that comes when fear stops being confusing and starts becoming specific. Caleb had already left for work. No note, no message. Just an empty space on his side of the bed and the faint smell of his cologne still hanging in the air. Elena hand on her lower back, the other instinctively resting on her stomach. The baby moved. A small, steady kick she exhaled. Okay, she whispered, we're okay. But she knew that wasn't fully true anymore. She got dressed slowly, pulling on a loose sweater, moving carefully through the apartment like she was seeing it for the first time. The couch, the kitchen counter, the hallway. Nothing had changed, and yet everything had. She stopped in front of Caleb's nightstand, sat there, keys, wallet, loose coins, her eyes fixed on the keys. Her heart started to beat faster. She knew what she was about to do, and she knew there was no going back from it. Elena picked them up. The metal felt cold in her hand. She hesitated for just a second, then walked to the closet, the locked drawer. She knelt down slowly, her knees protesting, her breath shallow. The baby shifted again like a reminder, be careful. She tried one key, too big. Second one, no. Third, a soft click. Her chest tightened. She didn't move right away. Then slowly she pulled the drawer open. Inside, everything was too neat. Folders, envelopes, a small black notebook, no clutter, no mess, organized, prepared. Her hands trembled as she reached for the top folder. Financial statements. She flipped through them quickly. Numbers, transactions, accounts she didn't recognize. Payments going out, large ones, regular. Then another folder. Legal documents, her name again, always her name. Her stomach dropped. She kept going, a manila envelope, thicker than the others. Tucked at the back. She pulled it out, opened it. Inside were printed emails. Elena's eyes moved fast across the page. At first, it didn't make sense. Then it did. Dates, names, a woman, repeated over months. Her breath caught. This wasn't just financial. This was personal. She flipped to the next page, then the next. Photos, grainy, printed, taken somewhere outside Caleb. Standing close to someone, too close. Her chest tightened. She stared at the image. The woman was younger, late 20s maybe, long hair, laughing at something he said. Caleb looked different, relaxed, free. Not the man who came home annoyed, controlled, watching every dollar. This version of him looked like he had no weight at all. Elena's hands started to shake harder. She kept reading, message just printed out. I told you I'd handle it. Just give me time. After Christmas, everything changes. Her vision blurred. After Christmas. Her eyes snapped back to the date. 2 days from now, her heart slammed against her ribs. The room suddenly felt smaller, tighter. She flipped to the last page. And that's when she saw the line that made everything else fall into place. I can't do this with her anymore. The baby just made it worse. The baby moved again under her hand, strong, alive, unwanted, not by her but by him. Her mind raced now, fast, clear. Insurance, debt, a timeline after Christmas. She slowly lowered the papers. Her body felt cold because now it wasn't a question anymore. It wasn't just fear. It wasn't just suspicion. It was a plan. And suddenly, Elena understood something that made her blood run cold. She wasn't supposed to still be here after Christmas. Elena didn't cry. Not right away. She sat on the floor in front of the open drawer, the papers still in her hands, her body completely still. It wasn't shock anymore. It was something heavier, something colder, understanding. Her eyes moved back to the line again. After Christmas, 2 days, her hand went to her stomach, pressed gently, like she needed to feel something real. The baby kicked, strong, alive. She closed her eyes. "You're not a mistake," she whispered. "Not to me." Her voice cracked on the last word. For a second, the weight of everything almost pulled her under. The betrayal, the humiliation, the way they had been talking about her like she wasn't even in the room, like she was already gone. But then something shifted, small, quiet. But there, because for the first time, Elena stopped asking why and started asking what now. She moved quickly after that. The drawer, closed, locked, keys back exactly where she found them. Every detail reset, every trace erased. By the time she stood up, her breathing had steadied. Not calm, controlled. She grabbed her phone again, took pictures this time, the emails, the photos, the messages. Every page she could capture without making noise. Her hands were steadier now. She wasn't reacting anymore. She was preparing. When she finished, she sent everything to the same hidden email, then deleted the photos from her phone, cleared the trash, checked twice. Her heart still pounded, but her mind felt sharper. She wasn't safe, that was clear now. But she wasn't powerless either. Around 3 in the afternoon, the front door opened. Elena froze. She hadn't heard his car, footsteps. "Caleb." "Hey," he called out casually. "You home?" Her stomach dropped. He wasn't supposed to be back yet. Her eyes flicked toward the bedroom. The drawer, locked. "Good." She forced her voice steady. "Yeah, I'm in here." He walked in a second later, jacket still on, phone in his hand. His eyes swept the room quickly. Too quickly. Checking. "Thought you had an appointment today," he said. "It got moved," she replied. A lie. He nodded slowly. "Oh." Silence. It stretched longer than it should have. Elena could feel it now. The tension. The way his eyes lingered just a second too long on certain things. The way he seemed alert. Like he was measuring something. "You okay?" he asked, gaze. Held it. "I'm fine." He studied her, then smiled. But this time it didn't reach his eyes. "Good," he said. "We need things to stay smooth right now." Smooth, the word sat heavy in the air. Elena's chest tightened. "Why?" she asked before she could stop herself. Another pause. Too long. Then Caleb stepped closer. Not aggressively, not loud, but deliberate. "'Cause Christmas is coming," he said. "And I don't want any unnecessary stress." Unnecessary, like her feelings, her questions, her existence. Elena nodded slowly. "Of course." He watched her a moment longer, then turned away like nothing had happened. Like everything was normal. Like he hadn't just confirmed exactly what she feared. That this wasn't about fixing anything. It was about timing. Later that night, after he fell asleep, Elena lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Her mind ran through everything. The insurance, the debt, the other woman. After Christmas, her body felt cold again, because now she knew. This wasn't something that might happen. It was something that was already in motion. And if she didn't move first, she wouldn't get another chance. The next morning, Elena didn't wait. She sat in her car outside a small clinic across town, hands tight around the steering wheel, heart racing so fast it made her dizzy. She hadn't told Caleb where she was going. For the first time in months, she didn't leave a note. Inside, the receptionist asked simple questions. Name, insurance, due date. Elena answered carefully. Then she leaned forward. "I need a full checkup," she said quietly, "and I don't want anything shared with my husband." The woman looked up. Not surprised, just understanding. "That's fine," she said. "You're allowed to request privacy." That sentence hit harder than Elena expected. Allowed, as if she had forgotten that word existed. The doctor was calm, professional, gentle. She asked about diet, stress, sleep. Then she paused, reading Elena's chart. "You've lost a little weight since your last visit," she said. "Have you been eating regularly?" Elena hesitated. Images flashed, plates taken away. Comments about watching what she eats, the way Judith always controlled portions, the way Caleb never questioned it. "I try," Elena said. The doctor didn't push, but her eyes stayed sharp. They ran tests, blood work, ultrasound. The room went quiet when the monitor lit up. There it was, small moving, real. Elena's breath caught. For a moment, everything else disappeared. The fear, the betrayal, the plan, just that heartbeat. Steady, fighting. The doctor pointed gently. "Everything looks stable right now," she said. "But your stress levels are high. That can affect both of you." Elena swallowed. "I think someone might be interfering with my food," she said, voice barely above a whisper. The doctor didn't react immediately. She just nodded slowly, like she'd heard worse before. Do you feel safe at home? The question landed hard. Elena opened her mouth, then closed it because safe didn't mean what it used to anymore. I don't know, she admitted. The doctor leaned closer, lowered her voice. If you're concerned about your safety or your baby's safety, there are resources, she said. Legal, medical, shelters if needed. You don't have to stay in a situation that feels unsafe. Elena's chest tightened, because that was the first time anyone had said it out loud. You don't have to stay. After the appointment, she sat in her car again, the envelope of test results on the passenger seat. Her phone buzzed. Caleb. She stared at the screen, didn't answer. Another message came in. Where are you? Then another. We need to talk. Her fingers hovered over the screen. Then she turned it off. For once, she didn't explain herself. She opened a new contact. A name she hadn't thought about in years, Daniel. Her ex. The one person who had walked away from her life quietly, but never with cruelty. She stared at the name for a long time, then typed, I need legal advice. It's urgent. Her thumb hovered. Then she hit send. The reply came faster than she expected. Are you safe? She looked down at her stomach, pressed her hand there again. Not yet, but maybe soon, she typed back. I'm trying to be. Across town, Caleb stared at his phone, jaw tightening, because for the first time since everything began, Elena had stopped playing along, and that made her dangerous. The courtroom felt colder than it should have. Elena sat still, both hands resting over her stomach, as if she could shield the life inside her from everything that had already happened. Daniel sat beside her, quiet, focused. He didn't speak unless she looked at him first. Across the room, Caleb looked different, not powerful anymore, just cornered. Judith still held her posture. Straight back, chin lifted, like control was something she could still force into existence. But it was slipping. Piece by piece, the evidence had come together slowly. Not one dramatic moment, not one single proof, a pattern. Medical records showed weight loss during pregnancy, not extreme but consistent. Enough to raise concern, enough to support what Elena had said. Then came the nutrition logs Elena had started keeping after the visit, photos, notes. Small details that seemed insignificant alone but together told a clear story. Control, not care. The doctor testified calmly. Just facts, elevated stress markers, irregular eating patterns, risk factors tied to emotional and environmental pressure. Then Daniel brought up the insurance policy, taken out quietly. Updated shortly after Elena's pregnancy was confirmed. Caleb's lawyer tried to downplay it. Standard procedure, future planning, but the timing didn't help them. And then came the night on the balcony. The neighbor spoke softly. She wasn't dramatic. She didn't need to be. She heard shouting, a sharp shift in tone, something that sounded like a struggle, then a scream. When she stepped outside, Elena was already gone, but she saw Caleb, standing still, looking down, not calling for help, not moving. That stayed in the room long after she stepped down. When it was Elena's turn, she didn't try to be strong. She just told the truth, not the kind people expect in court, not polished, not perfect, but real. She talked about the small things, how decisions were made without her, how her food was questioned, reduced, controlled, how every concern she raised was turned back on her. You're emotional. You're overreacting. You're not thinking clearly. She paused there, because that part hurt more than anything else. They made me doubt myself, she said quietly, to the point where I started believing I was the problem. The judge watched her closely. So did everyone else. And that night, he asked. Elena didn't rush her answer. I remember his hands, she said. That's what I remember. No one spoke after that. The ruling didn't come immediately. It took time. Deliberation, review. Because this wasn't just a divorce anymore. It was a question of safety. When the decision was finally read, the words were steady, measured. But they changed everything. Protective order granted. Primary custody awarded to Elena upon birth. Supervised visitation only, pending further evaluation. And the court acknowledged credible evidence of coercive control and physical endangerment. Caleb's shoulders dropped. Judith didn't move. For the first time, neither of them had anything left to say. Outside, the air felt different, not lighter, just honest. Elena stood on the steps, one hand still resting over her stomach. Her body felt tired. Heavenel stood beside her. You're free, he said. Elena shook her head slowly. Not free, she said, safe. And that was enough. Months later, the apartment was small. Quiet. No one controlled what she ate. No one questioned how she felt. No one spoke over her. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers. One evening, she sat by the window holding her daughter close. The baby was warm against her chest, breathing softly. unafraid. Elena watched her for a long time. Then she spoke, barely above a whisper. No one gets to decide who you are. It wasn't a lesson she learned easily. It was something she had to fight for, bleed for, walk away for. She kissed her daughter's forehead gently, and for the first time in a long time, she believed it. If this story stayed with you, or if you've ever had to walk away just to protect your own worth, share what you think below.